Hey, welcome to the video. This is Browner Forever, and today we're going to be looking at why a bunch of top-ranked or G3 guilds have their own private website. And I'm going to be mentioning a lot of things through this whole video, and I'm going to be putting as much of that info down in the description so you can potentially follow along and get the link right to where I'm talking about. So with that, let's jump right into what I'm talking about. So here we are, we're at the dashboard, which is basically the homepage of our private website. And there's a lot of functionality. We see 3-monster defense search, Guild War offense, defense, siege battles, counters. There's all sorts of information here, and it's all very helpful. And I'm going to try and do my best to explain all of it. But what you need to know is that this is basically a super convenient way for you to manage all the PvP aspects of your guild related PvP aspects. And we're going to go forward and we're going to show you Guild Wars Siege and the counters before I explain how do you get a site like this. So from this dashboard, which is basically the homepage, let's go to Guild Wars. We can do Guild War offense, and we can see that we just set this tool up. We just set the website up, so we have some info from last week. So now we're on a page where we can see all the info on all our members, and I can tell who was pulling their weight or who's not. And we can see their percentages of how often that they hit. The only downside is if somebody doesn't hit at all, it's not going to show up in here. But you can see that some people missed a sword or 2 swords here and there. And that is at least somewhat helpful. It's fairly obvious if you have someone who's very inactive. So there's more you can look at. You can look at, for example, my info. You can go see how did I do, and you can see all the info. You can keep going on from looking at me. You can see the Guild War defense, siege offense, siege defense, all that info from right there. There's a lot of different ways to navigate this. So let's move on and just quickly look at siege as well, since there's just so much to digest. You'd really need to poke around here yourself. Alright, so let's go look at some siege stuff too now. So for siege, we have a siege planner, and for this siege planner, you can see I put a couple defenses in here, and we could plan this out, we could fill this all out, and this could be very helpful to decide how to counter other known guilds. So for example, in Siege, they have a legend tournament planner. So if you're a really high ranking guild, you might know what other teams and what other guilds they're going to be using. So if you keep working on that, then you can keep changing your plan. You can go to plan 2, plan 4, whatever. You can keep working on that, and you can try to catch them off balance. And that's really helpful. So we can also move to the Siege Battle weekly summary. We can see how we did. We can go in here and look at all the offense and the defense and the overall performance stats. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we can see the win rates of defenses. And you can see that I added some teams that don't have counters. And we could go try to find if there's a public counter for this, but let's say this is a team that we're struggling, or other people are struggling to beat, and we want to know what are the weaknesses, what can we do to make it better. So let's go look at that now. So we're back at the dashboard, which we have a couple options for how to find a counter to a team. We can go over to the 3-monster defenses search, and we can either choose private or public. And if we're trying to look for our own counters, then we can use private. But let's go to public for the sake of some entertainment, since we just got this set up and we don't have a lot of counters. So we can search for Susano, Orion, Garo. Now that comes up with the fairly popular, kind of old school 4-star siege defense, and it kind of gives you the overview of what it's good at, what it's bad at, and how to beat it, and a bunch of counters. And some of these are good and some of these aren't. So relying on your own counters in your own high level guild is going to be a lot more reliable than just picking one of these here. So we have one more functionality that's important that I want to go over, and that's to go to where to use. So let's say that you don't know where to use a monster, and let's just pick Abelio because it's the very first one on the list. So there's no defenses entered in private. Let's go to public. So we see that Abelio is being used as a counter to a few defenses. So that's helpful. We could look at another one. We could look at Aegir, and we see that he's being used as a counter to a lot of defenses. He's in a few defenses too. So that's pretty helpful. There's a lot more functionality here in this website. I'm just really skimming the surface, but let's move on and I'll show you the free versions of this. And I can't fully recommend those. They're helpful, but this really gives you a lot more convenience. So let's talk about the free alternatives. And one of them is Siege Insights, which is the site that I currently have pulled up right here. And you can see they do ask you to be a patron, but you don't have to be. So I consider it to be a free alternative. But I don't think it's quite as good as the Summoner's War guild tools. It does allow you to import the JSON file from the exporter in a much similar way. It just doesn't have quite as much functionality. This is just Siege, and it's generally just the Siege that you're looking at with this one file, rather than being able to look at any Siege that are uploaded at any time all the way back into the past. So if you're interested in that and you don't want to be a patron for Summoner's War guild tools and have your own site, then I recommend checking out this Reddit post, which I'll link in the description. And then secondarily, you can access these public counters here on the Summoner's War Guild Tool website, very similar to the way that we do it on the private website. So if I look this up, I'm going to get the same public counters. And if I go to where to use, I'm going to get the same information. But what you're lacking is the customization, and you're lacking the ability for the convenience and everybody being able to constantly being uploading new information. Everybody can be using it as a hub to make better counters and make better defenses. So if you found this helpful and you think you could make use of it, then I really encourage you to go use the link down in the description to go talk to Sarusa and his Discord server. Also, use the link to join my server and join the multi-guild community that I'm building. And you can be hanging out, you can join one of our guilds. Also, please like, comment, subscribe, give me some video ideas, feedback, anything's helpful. Watch my last video on how to speed up Trickaroo, also known as Tricaru. And please have a great day. Thank you.